When was the first time both of your paths crossed in softball?
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's been, let's see, as long as we've been in the sport, I was at Oklahoma. We played you guys at UCLA back in the early 2000s, like 2002,
Yeah, through the collegiate game.
Yeah.
But I think we kind of really connected actually on the recruiting trail, talking about our kids.
Yep. We have sons of their same age and coming through the same thing, the baseball process.
Yeah, that's when I really started to connect with Howard and just kind of realized who he was, not just what you see on the field, because obviously when you coach against a competitor, you obviously have that interaction, but we don't always get to meet people on a different level. And so to be able to have those conversations about our kids and really how they're going through the game of softball and managing our careers and sometimes not being able to be where we'd like to be all the time, was something that we kind of were able to confide in each other and really kind of help each other out and kind of directing our kids and still being able to do our jobs. It was kind of cool.
It was really neat, and I mean, everyone knows who Lisa Fernandez is. I mean, seriously, if you're in the sport, coming through the sport and watching her play, and then having to get to know her on a personal level, it was kind of, it's really a neat experience because all you see is the competitor, her on the field, and then getting to experience that and seeing how she coaches, but also how she does that with being a mom too, and how she balances that out was really cool.
We don't want to let that out.
So, sorry, yes.
The competitor,
yes.
What is it that sold you on the AUSL? Was there a moment, a conversation, something about it where you went, okay, I have to be a part of that? Coach, I'll start with you.
It's being in that, watching how the momentum of AU in general has gone on the last summers, and watching some of our former players play in that, and watching how that has transformed over into the collegiate game, and watching, I don't know how many coaches are actually using a model of a point system to do their inter squads now. So now it's just not wins and losses or runs or whatever, but now it's a point system, and now that everything counts. And we preach to our kids all the time in the college game how there's no such thing as small things. Everything counts. Every little bit counts, because that's the difference between winning and losing, especially when you're playing UCLA or you get to that next level in the World Series. Every little thing counts. And then all of a sudden the point system transferred over. And so having that avenue to start with and catch that momentum, but then also see their vision of what a pro league should look like and how that should go and how to reward the players who the players before didn't get the opportunity to have. I mean, everyone, again, I said it before, people know who Lisa Fernandez is, but who's going to be the next Lisa Fernandez? Who's going to be the next Kat Osterman or Kelly Kretschmann? Well, if they don't have an avenue to pursue that, then it gets kind of lost, and those kids don't have, they need role models to look up to, and they deserve the opportunity to have a pro system and get played for and get paid to play because they're talented enough to do that. And so getting involved in that was tremendous because of that, and having that opportunity, we just can't say no to it.
Yeah, for me, it was really the athletes in our program. I've spoken to so many of them and their love for the game, and to hear them not really have another avenue and still wanting to compete and play. And so, I started to follow the game and watch it on TV. I mean, obviously it had been on for a few years, but to see it on regular and be able to following my teammates and then other kids that I had seen compete through the college game, and I'm like, wow, this is happening. And for a female athlete, we reach our peak, later in our 20s. And so now we're watching these players who are showing their passion for the game. You see the little girls in the stands. And, for me, there's nothing better than as an athlete to hopefully be able to retire from the game, leaving the game in a better spot than when you played it. And so to get a call from Jenny Finch and from Natasha Watley and Jessica Mendoza and obviously from Kim, asking me if I was interested in being a part. I mean, how would you not? And with the backing and the support that we have, I think it's a viable model, to be able to have an opportunity to truly have these kids or these young women have an opportunity to continue to play this game and to be able to showcase their skills and their competitiveness and to be the role models for the athletes of the future, to be able to see that you can express yourself, you can be athletic, you can be strong, you can have leadership and be successful in this world. And to me, that's what the game is all about.
Lisa, what is it like for you to see your players go on and have really incredible success at AU? Rachel Garcia has medaled. Bubba Nichols is our latest AUX champion. What is like that for you as their collegiate coach to go, not only did I prepare them to be successful, I prepared them to be one of the best in the pro league?
Just so fortunate. When you go through the recruiting process, you look for the lifers in the game, the people that have the passion, the love. They play the game for the right reasons. It's because of the inner drive, the inner success that they want to be able to achieve, the challenges that they love to face, and to see them have the opportunity to succeed and to carry it on and to be that role model for the athletes of the future. I'm so proud of them. And I think for us as coaches, it's really just to be able to provide them an avenue to be able to truly challenge themselves and to just see how good they can be and to see them succeed, whether it is at AU or internationally or whatever it is. It's about them continuing to live their dreams. And to me, that's, I've been blessed. I was fortunate to have the career that I had, and for me, it's paying it back and being there for them to be able to help them achieve their dreams and goals.
They're good people too. I know we love being around them.
I hope we picked them right.
We love being around them. Coach, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot here.
Oh, Lord, okay.
Being on the recruiting trail, there's players that you get, and then players that maybe didn't end up there, or maybe you admired them from afar. So is there anyone that you didn't get to coach collegiately that you would love to coach as a pro?
Well, that's numerous. There's a lot of them that are out there that are in the AU and stuff. Watching Bubba Nichols comes to mind. I had the opportunity to work with her in the national team stuff, but before in the collegiate level, just watching everything that she does. The way she goes out, handles her business, but also you can put her anywhere. She probably could sell popcorn in the stands if you let her. She probably drive the bus or whatever she wants to do. But she was just able to do so many things, and having that kind of athlete is tremendous. But they're numerous. You go after all the better kids. You try to go out to build your best team. And I've been fortunate to coach a lot of good players too. But there's some that got away, and you wish you could have got them on your team. But it's just part of the game, and you enjoy watching them. You just hope they have success and 55 games, because that 56th game might be against you. So you hope that one game they're off. But just watching and enjoying. But she does come to mind. There's numerous. Megan Fierro comes to mind. Osterman was another one we went after a long time, a while back, and watching her and then having to face against her in the conference. It's ridiculous being a hitting coach, and she was a pitcher, and it was like that made my night. I still wake up in cold sweats. But there's numerous, and it's really cool to see all that though, because you watch them grow up. You're watching them as kids coming through as a 12, 13, 14-year-olds, and all of a sudden you see them develop into young ladies, and all of a sudden they dominate their sport, and you see it coming, it's there, and then it comes into fruition, and you're like, wow, yeah, we saw it. Too bad it wasn't in our colors, but we saw it.
You've coached at the collegiate level with the national team. How would you describe yourself as a coach? What's your coaching philosophy?
I don't know if I have a direct coaching philosophy. I think I'm a player's coach. I think that that managing the game, but I'm there for the players. It's not about me. I'm not a big ego guy. Like to get the knowledge out of them. As being a dad too, as a parent, you have a son or daughter, and you want them to be the best they can be later in life, and make them be positive adults. And so I took that as a chance to me to maybe make them become better later on in life too, just to make sure they're successful all the way through. And so being a positive role model for them, and making sure that whatever I do is for the right reasons. Again, I'm not trying to add things and wins and losses, but you love them no matter what happens. You care about them, and you want them to be successful, and you try to avoid them being unsuccessful as much as possible. Coaching philosophy-wise, we just try to outscore them, but you just try to find a way to score more runs than they get, at least just one. It doesn't ask for much, but it's to make sure that we put them the best chance to be successful as possible. And then if we don't, we adjust and we go back again. Nothing's concrete, nothing's set in stone. It's an ever-flowing game, and you have to come with whatever punches come at you.
Is there a potential or ceiling that you feel like you see athletes start to reach when they're pros, when they're in their mid to late 20s, that they don't get to tap into as college athletes? Is there something that comes to mind of, pitchers develop this or hitters develop this, that you just don't have enough time in 4 or 5 years in college to really become great? Is there something that comes to mind?
I would say there's a fearlessness that comes out of them. It's a maturity level of realizing that there's more to the game, that there's more that they can do. We only have them for 4 years. It's a short period of time, but when they get the opportunity to compete professionally, it truly takes them to a different level. They start to challenge themselves. They start to try new things. Because they realize they've got to compete, right? They've got to figure out how to stay at the top of their game, and what little things can they add, what little things can they do. And there's a maturity to that, which, all athletes go to. I definitely, from self-experience, the player I was when I was in high school and in college was nowhere near the player I was when I ended my career being an Olympian. And so I understand, what that means. And there's a fearlessness that goes about, being able to continue to reinvent yourself, so that you can stay competitive and you can stay on top.
Coach, what do you see in that potential for players?
It's been neat to see because they come in as freshmen and they've done good things to get to the point where they're at and to be on your team to begin with, and then they have their struggles and they have to learn how to cope with it. Our sport is a failing sport. You have to learn how to deal with failure, and some of them can do it, and some of them can't. But then you actually watch them how to deal with failure, and later on it's going to benefit them later in life. But then as you watch them get older and develop, and then all of a sudden by their sophomore and junior and senior year, they've really got it, and then their career ends. And then now with having the opportunity to play the next level, now they take it upon themselves because they've learned what it takes to do. And what's nice is that programs like ours is that they come in as freshmen. Well, you have older kids who have gone through the program, and they understand what work ethic is. A lot of kids think they work hard until they get to a spot where you actually work hard, and then the seniors are telling them, so they get to come on and pass the knowledge down, but then they carry it over into their personal lives to how to keep going and keep that what their priorities are. When you're a freshman, you don't know what your priorities are. You just, your mom wakes you up for breakfast and you go to school and you're not quite sure. They hold your hand through sometimes through grades, but then they have to do it on their own, and all of a sudden that prepares them for the next, and now they're prioritizing what they're doing in their professional. They have to go get up in the morning, eat right, take care of their bodies because no one's holding their hands anymore. There's not a strength coach. You have to go out and do your own. It's all on you. And how bad do you want to be a really good professional as it goes? And that takes a different mindset. And you watch them from the freshman year to their senior year to start to take that on. And those who don't play don't get to continue. The ones who play continues more of that avenue of how to prioritize and really take that on themselves to be good at what they do.
And I think that's where it comes. It's not necessarily maturity, it's experience. Yeah. It's really the experience that they gain going through the 4 years of college and then entering into that professional realm. They just continue to build on it.
Coach, you have an 822 winning percentage at UCLA. I did not say that wrong. 822. You know what it takes to win. What will it take here? Is there an it factor to teams that get it done, put W's in the column, and win championships? And how do you build that as a GM?
Yeah, it's communicating with my coach here. It's getting the right players. It's, there is a physical, part of the game, but there really is a mental part of the game. It's the resiliency. This game is a grind, and as Howard said, it's a game of failure. And so you have to have short-term memory. You have to have a self-confidence and a self-belief, but you also have to have the ability to adjust and kind of ebb and flow with, whatever is thrown at you. Sometimes you're going to feel like the ball is a beach ball, and sometimes you're going to feel like it's literally the size of a pea. And who are the players that can manage that, and be able to still have the energy and the drive and the desire and the competitiveness to still go out there and battle. And for me, that's why I'm so proud of any athlete that takes on the challenge.
You all have both been a part of incredible fan bases. LSU, UCLA, those fans are serious about their teams. What does it take to get college fans to be pro fans? And what do you hope you can bring through this franchise, the Talons? When
they can connect with you and they feel like they are your biggest supporter, and then all of a sudden the buy-in starts to build, and then that person tells the next person, and they feel like they're all part of the program. The fans, it's not just the team, but the fans are actually part of the program. Like, they help us win because they're loud when it's supposed to be loud, and they're ragging the other team when they're supposed to rag the other team. When they get associated with that and they feel like they're part of it, that's when your momentum can take off for sure.
Just the passion, right? To be able to see athletes compete and the relationships that you build. Being accessible, I think Howard is right. Developing those relationships, being accessible. But really, I think, fans want to see the passion. They want to see the love of the game. They want to see it matter. They want to see people be able to compete, go hard. Many of them will play through the athletes, right? And envision themselves up at the plate and, oh my God, I'm so nervous for you, but that's what it's about. That's what we watch. That's why we watch sports, is we want to watch these athletes compete at a high level with everything they got, with no fear of, outcome. Just simply play because you love the game. And, hopefully, people will be able to see that, through the caliber of athletes that are going to be competing at this game. They're going to be the best of the best. And so I know I'm looking forward to it.
And how hard they play. And if you watch the fan, you want them into every pitch. They're riding with us the same way. You want to see that. Yes, they're locked in every pitch, waiting to see the outcome.
We're ready.
Yeah, let's get it.
You all are building a franchise from the ground up. That's going to start through these players at the allocation draft. What type of player, what type of person is the franchise player? Who comes to mind? Maybe not names, but just attributes, things about them that are just kind of irreplaceable when it comes to building a team.
I think someone that's got
GM,
good,
go for it.
yeah, got good energy, someone that's accessible, someone that's got high character, and someone that, is willing to be a role model, to be someone that when they see a little girl can look them in the eye and go, I'm playing for you, and I think it's important. I mean, obviously they've got to have the physical abilities to be able to, do whatever is going to be asked of them, but, there's also that other part of the game that you want to make sure you put players out there who play the game for the right way, the right way and for the right reasons, and that those people in the stands when they leave can go, man, I was proud of that team. They were a great role model for my little boy or my little girl to be able to emulate or look to who they could be when they grow up. And I think it's important, for us to continue to develop the game.
What's the it factor for you?
It's with because the style of play we're going to have, because of it being games, 3-game series, you try to find the players that help you win the games, and they find the ability to bring out the best in their teammates too as well. Because if it comes up and the person hits a home run, the next at bat they're asked to bunt because that's what the game calls for in that situation. Then putting the bunt down, moving the runners, or getting the big strikeout, or whatever it is, they're willing to sacrifice their at bat so the person behind them can get the win. And that's big, because now all of a sudden it's nobody's bigger than the game itself. And you find those players, and if you can have a collective of understanding that none of us are bigger than this game, but as one, we're bigger than anything, then you can have some really good success. And just trying to find those players that fit into that mold, that are able to bring players along with them. You can have one good player, but you might be 1 in a million, but you got to remember you're only 1 of 15 on our roster.
Coach, what is your most fulfilling coaching moment of your career?
Oh man, I've had quite a few of those. I don't know if I say fulfilling one moment, but to me, there's nothing better in your coaching is when you work with a player trying to say fix a swing or throw a pitch or whatever it is, and you work with them and they struggle through it and they fight through it and they keep working, but they never stop. They never stop. They might be 0 for 4 or 5 and they've had some really tough days, but they keep grinding. They keep working on that, what you're trying to work on with, and all of a sudden it clicks. And as soon as it clicks and they hit that home run or hit that double, and the look on their face is like, man, that's why I worked so hard. That I worked so hard and I got it right then. And just seeing that look on their face, that's the moments that why we do what we do. Because now all of a sudden they're happy and they're elated because they see their hard work and their passion, and it's capitalized. It doesn't always go your way, but it's worth it in the end. And then when it does click, the look on their face is awesome. Now there's some big games, that we've come back from behind, and there's many of those that I remember more of the losses than I do a lot of the wins, unfortunately. But there's tons of times where we're seeing 19-inning games and we finish it out with a big hit, or at getting to the World Series or any of those type things. There's a big moments, but ultimately what sticks in my mind from being a coach for so long is those moments, those kids that they are successful when they thought they couldn't be. You thought more they could be successful than they thought in themselves, and then they are, and that look of their satisfaction and gratitude and happiness is so fulfilling, and that's what I remember the most.
Oh, I love that. Lisa, being a general manager is such a unique role compared to the ones you've been in your career. An athlete where people are pouring into you and you're pouring into them and you're the one kind of pushing things along to win. As a coach, where you're trying to get a team to buy in, as a general manager, you set the vision and you can control a lot of the experience. What is one thing that you hope that players that come through this franchise and this program, what do you want, if you could give them one thing, what would it be?
To love the game. I hope they walk away from this experience, and I hope, working with us, they're going to be able to have their passion and they're going to have fun doing it, and they're going to love the game and love the experience. We want them to want the challenge of being able to be the one, but yet being selfless in terms of knowing that it's, it definitely is a team. But there's nothing like knowing the backstory of every athlete. And, to me, that's an important part is getting them to know them, and their why and their reason, and help them to be able to take this experience and be able to get after it and be able to live the best moment that they can, and to love doing it, and there's going to be challenges, but you gotta love the road.
Is there someone in your career, especially when you played as a pro on the national team, that you felt like gave you that vision? Was there someone that did that for you of, this is what I could be, these are the things I could achieve as an Olympian, as a champion? Is there someone that did that for you? Maybe a teammate, maybe a coach?
I've been blessed and really just fortunate. I mean, there's really been, wow.
Yeah, name it down.
I
Good
mean,
luck narrowing it down.
Yeah, there's just been so many, right? When you think of all the different ways your career can go, and just really fortunate to have the right people at the right place. You know, when I questioned myself, you know, I had someone that would, hey, no, you got this. Oh, I got it, you know, or I don't know, should I do this? Yeah, you can do this. And I'm like, you know, I could think of just any number of directions that my career could have gone if I would have just taken a different path, you know. And obviously my parents were instrumental, being Hispanic. You know, I remember, you know, my dad, when, you know, story was, you know, he used to have some guys, friends of his, that would question, you know, at 25, why his daughter's still playing softball. And so, you know, he said, you know, can I borrow your medals, Lisa? And I'm like, sure, Dad. And he showed him. He goes, this is why my daughter still plays softball, you know, and just, you know, to have the support of my family, to have the support of, you know, my closest friends, you know, Kelly Inouye Perez and, you know, Dot Richardson, you know, and who at critical times in my life, you know, said, it's okay to love this game. You know, it's okay to be passionate about this game. It's okay to be driven about this game. I'm just so blessed and fortunate. Man, that's crazy.
Oh, I can add some more to you. But that honestly too is the so to this day I will add. I'm going to talk to the teams anytime the LSU teams. I will always use her as a reference because I've never seen anyone in my entire coaching career, 30 years of coaching, to see someone who wants to be the best player on every single pitch.
Oh,
Like
so
every
sweet.
time, like there's no doubt. I mean, she was talented and had great athletic ability, play third, can hit, can pitch. But I've never seen anyone with the competitive blood that wants to be the best player on the field every pitch. And if you go back and watch a video, you'll see it.
I never wanted to disappoint
Oh,
anybody.
you got it.
Thank you both. That was incredible. I appreciate the time.
Yes, thank you.